Welcome everybody to another edition of TopShelf Spotlight. My name's Peter Nakamura, Product Marketing Manager here at Mercatus. And with me, we have Randy Crimmins, President of AisleOne. And we're going to cover the topic of personalization and loyalty in the e-commerce space. It's a vast space, lots of different ways to approach personalization and loyalty for your customers as you expand your strategy. So Randy's here to share some insights. Welcome to Top Shelf Spotlight. Randy, where are we catching you today?
Hey, Peter. Thank you. Great to be here. Look forward to the conversation. I am traveling around this week on the West Coast, doing a West Coast tour, meeting with clients and spreading the message of Mercatus and AisleOne. So
awesome. Yeah, and I know you're traveling quite a bit, so appreciate your time. So let's get right into it. Yeah. I think a lot of retailers today have heard the term personalization. It's been around for years now. I think it's evolved over the past few years, especially as it gets more complex and robust in the grocery retail strategy. Curious to know, how do you define personalization and what should grocers be thinking about when it comes to activating their personalization strategy?
A great question, and yes, a broad question that a lot of answers to. And to me, when we think about personalization, when I think about personalization, I talk to retailers around the country and in particular regional supermarkets. What I try to stress to them is that personalization is really, it's different in every case. It can be defined in so many different ways. I mean, ultimately, to me, it's about convenience and value. And when you look at what really drives consumer behavior, it's typically those two things. It's how convenient is it for me to buy it, to shop it, and what is the value to me? And value is not necessarily price only. It's the value, and that's specific to the individual and the situation. So personalization is, it has so many different aspects to it, and hard to pinpoint just one definition. But if I had to say what I think is, really personifies creating a personalized experience, it's one that is convenient and valuable to each shopper. Yeah. And typically that's a curated experience. And that's what we aim for. That's our objective, is to create that kind of curated, convenient, and value-based proposition or experience for each customer.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting and a good insight for us, finding that balance between what does convenience look like if you're a shopper who's trying to get in and out of the store quickly or try to complete their basket online, and then what's value, what do they find most valuable in that whole shopping process? What kind of products do they really like to buy often? And oftentimes that's really about the retailer knowing their customer inside and out so that they can deliver what's most valuable. So I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about, if you're a retailer trying to figure out the kind of assortment of products that you're presenting to customers and showing value, that you understand that customer. What are some approaches or insights that you've come across that are helpful?
Obviously there's things that we can do operationally, and some of this has become common in the industry today, and where you're delivering a personalized recommendation to a shopper. So based on what I buy historically, I'm going to curate down the items that are presented to you in a way that's relevant to you. So we give you those items that you most often buy. And so that's a very functional, kind of helpful way to present products to shoppers based on their purchase history and what matters most to them. So, a simple example, it's sort of become table stakes today in terms of the e-commerce experience that we're going to recommend those items to you. But if you step back a little bit and you look at personalization in terms of, what we can do functionally, but also what we can do experientially, how we can really deliver what is most important to each shopper. And sometimes that is a product recommendation to make it easier to find the sale items for this week that I'm most likely going to buy. But more, if we could take that one additional step and we could say, okay, these are the items that are relevant to you. We know that you buy these items, but we also know when you buy those items. So if we know that you just bought that item, it may be relevant to you, but it's not appropriate for us to present that to you now. That may be weighted lower. And so we present another item that's relevant and it's that optimal time for you to buy it. So there's things we can do with the technology that's available to us today, the algorithms that are available, that we can make it even more relevant to the shopper than just based on, my purchase history, but also, what is relevant to me right now in the moment.
And that seems to have been a change, I think, in the last couple of years, where these algorithms, these models have become even more complex and robust, so that they match, real customer behavior, not just a smattering of. Hopefully, these are product recommendations that resonate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think as a baseline, we should be recommending. We know what you're buying. We should be recommending products based on your purchase history. And the reality is, most consumers only buy around 350 to 400 products over and over.
Right.
So, we know that we should present products in that manner. But then, what can we do beyond that to even make it more curated and more relevant to me as a shopper? And that's what I think for the retailers. What can they do to leverage the data beyond just the baseline recommendations, and how can they really infuse that ability to personalize the experience through all the different interactions that they have with the shopper?
Moving on to kind of the greater ecosystem and trends that we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of mass and national chains put a lot of effort and money into personalization and loyalty. There's a lot of insights, research that we publish around mass merchants creating more cross-shopping between regionals. So more and more customers are starting to shop more at mass, with the inflationary environment, and, just the strategy that they've put in place with curbside pickup over the last couple of years, just become a more challenging environment. So within this context, what are some things that you feel like regionals have within their power to activate a personalization strategy, a loyalty strategy to compete with these bigger chains?
That 100%, that's what it's about. It's about how do they compete effectively with the larger chains they've got bigger budgets. They are investing maybe more in their data and digital infrastructures. And it's a daunting challenge for the regionals, not only to thrive, but in some cases to survive. It's a matter of survival. But when you look at the regional supermarket chains, typically they have a high service model. They want to try to differentiate themselves, and they don't want to be a mass commoditized experience. So they have a better opportunity and are more aligned with the advantages of loyalty and personalization and localization and just being more relevant to the consumer than the nationals. So they really need to lean into that. And that starts with first party data. It starts with having the customer data where they can derive insight from it, and then operationalize those insights to engage shoppers in personally relevant ways. And for the regional, I don't think there's any more important thing that they could do to be successful in the coming years. They need to lean into the data, into their programs, and into the way that they can engage shoppers in a personally relevant way to blunt the fragmentation of shopping that's going on and the hyper competitive nature of the marketplace today, not just from the mass retailers, but also from niche players that are coming in and other verticals that are encroaching on the traditional grocery space and nibbling away at the share that they have. And, it can be a death by 1,000 cuts, and they have to be doing everything they can to be successful and to survive and thrive. And to me, the linchpin is the data that they have. They're their customers. They have the data. They need to leverage that and lean in hard to loyalty and personalization. And just one comment on loyalty. You need a compelling loyalty proposition, a program to bring shoppers in to help consolidate purchase activity at your store. But loyalty is just one part of the overall equation. For the regionals, they need to adopt the strategy of personalizing the experience, and loyalty is a facilitator of that, an enabler of that. But it's not the end game. The end game is a loyal customer that sticks with you, that that you get the maximum spend from them. So, there's a lot of talk about loyalty programs, but the program is really just the means to the end, and that is having a loyal shopper base. So you're not eroding shoppers to the nationals and to the other players out there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Just going back to the data point, I think a lot of retailers struggle with that, unifying the data in one place so they can make sense of it, and then to actually activate those insights and operationalize it into actual programs. What would you say is maybe within the scope of a customer journey from acquisition, conversion, retention?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the lowest hanging fruit? Where can retailers think about activating data that has the highest ROI, so to speak?
I think it's not just one answer. They need to be doing all of those things. They need to be acquiring new customers. I mean, that's important, of course, and it also depends on where you're at in your journey, your loyalty journey, and your digital journey, and your data journey. What data do you have available to you? So we tell retailers, hey, let's start with where you are with what you have. Some don't even have a loyalty program. So obviously we're advocates for having some type of way of personally identifying shoppers and having that individual transactional data as the foundation of kind of everything else that you want to do in terms of relevance and personalization. You start where you are, you capture what you can, and then it's kind of a crawl, walk, run approach to get you to ultimately where you want to be in terms of creating these loyal customers that are really sticky to your business and consolidate their purchase activity with you. And it's a closed loop. The more data that you collect, the more information you have on your shoppers, the better you're able to serve those shoppers with more relevant, personalized engagements and experiences. So, it really comes back to the first party data and then how you can operationalize that. And, the reality is supermarkets are in the business of selling groceries primarily, and they've become a lot more sophisticated internally and they're much more digitally savvy and data savvy. But that's not their core competency. They don't necessarily have the expertise in-house. And so find a good partner that you can have a true partnership with, that can help you build out your data infrastructure and has the operational components to help you really deliver on that promise of personalization. And I think too, it's, once you get there, you have that foundation in place. You've kind of have this mind shift from an analog world to a digital world and from a mass world to a one-to-one focus. And usually that starts in the marketing departments and the digital departments of the supermarkets. But then once you have that, the extensibility of that approach and the data to other parts of the business, like operations and like especially merchandising, and really helping the categories take a customer-centric view of their business that's so valuable to the overall organization. And it starts to change the mindset of what a loyalty program is and what having customer data is. It's not just about the personalization and the targeting, but it's the insight and the way it can change your approach in the different areas of the business. So again, it's kind of a crawl, walk, run, depending on where the retailer is. But
Right.
To me, there's no other option. The regionals have to go there, and maybe 60% are that have loyalty programs that are capturing first-party data. But I'd say it's a small percentage that are really fully leveraging the data for the benefit of the full benefit of the enterprise of the organization. That's what I get excited about just in terms of the opportunity, because we're just scratching the surface today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think if you're a e-com leader or a marketing leader at a retailer listening to this, to your point, it's a really nice opportunity where if you can not only use personalization or your loyalty program to gather data and insights, you can become the hub at your organization for understanding a better, deeper understanding of your customer behavior, which becomes really a powerful tool for the entire organization to learn and rally around. And I know, you care a lot about not just the digital data, but the in-store data and marrying that together.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a great point, Peter. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because it is about this holistic view of the shopper experience. And we're in a digital world today, obviously, and the growth of e-commerce and grocery. We've seen that really with the pandemic just accelerate. Now, it may have pulled back a little bit after the pandemic as consumers return to their normal behavior, but the reality is that we are hybrid consumers. We shop online, we shop in store, we shop from the mobile device, we shop from our desktops. That is who we are as consumers. And to be successful, retailers have to understand that behavior holistically. We like to say from digital impression to transaction, be it in store or online. And then you think about all the points in between those two events. I had an impression on the web or in the app to when I transact. All the opportunity we have to engage with the shopper and to influence their behavior or enhance their experience, so we create more value as a retailer and more loyalty with the customer. And that's the way that I try to help retailers look at this opportunity, is from that impression to transaction and all the points in between. And the exciting thing today is that we have the technology. Most cases, we have the data. We may need to clean it up. We may need to augment it. We may need to do something to make it better, but it's available to us. So that vision of really understanding that full journey, it's available to us. We just got to put the pieces, foundational pieces in place to enable the retailer to get there. Yeah. But, if I'm a retailer, to me, that's just, that's the exciting part of this. It's just how much more opportunity there is.
No, absolutely. We're running short on time, but I do want to ask you one more question. And as the leader of the AisleOne or piece of our company here, you're probably thinking about, okay, where is personalization and loyalty going? And I'm sure a lot of listeners are also thinking about it. How do we stay ahead of the curve here for those who have a bit more of an advanced approach? What are any trends or things that you're keeping an eye on that might impact this space in the coming year or two?
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. We're all talking about AI now. We've talked about it for years, but now it's real. We're seeing some of the real benefits of AI, and so that's just going to continue to take off and influence and impact the industry. And obviously the applications for personalization are profound. And I think the ability to really truly personalize the experience throughout that shopper journey, and to really have it create these immersive experiences that are, we say personalized a lot, but really it's about relevance. It's making that experience as relevant and authentic as possible to me as a shopper and what matters to me and my family. And there are some trends like with health and nutrition, and how do we make it easier for shoppers that's what they're concerned about, that's relevant to them. How do we make that as personally relevant as possible? I saw an interesting fact that almost 50% of Gen Z consumers are on some type of diet plan, whether it's by choice, a lifestyle, or could be a medically dictated diet plan, but they're on some type of diet plan. So if we know that about a consumer, we know that they're into keto, or we know that maybe they have celiacs, and so they're a gluten-free shopper, and we know that about them, and we have all the product data, and we know which products align with that particular dietary lifestyle. Why can't we put that together in an easier way, a more convenient way, a more curated way for the shopper, so that it really is truly relevant to them? To me, that's kind of where personalization is going. It's not just recommending an item that I've bought historically. That's part of it. And it's not just, hey, 50 cents off green beans because we know you like green beans, so here's an offer for it. But it's how do we go deeper than that to things that really matter to consumers, and what matters more than your health? So I think that's an area that we're going to see, we're starting to see some real innovation happening. I think the other that I'll mention is the printed circular. The demise of the print circular has been, it's been imminent for over 25 years, probably. We've been talking about it. And now we're actually seeing retailers that are dropping the printed circular. And so the shift to the digital experience is becoming even more important. And to me, the digital and the personalized experience, I mean, that's where it really starts to pay off, because we can do things in real time in a digital experience that you can't necessarily in a physical experience. So I think with what's going on with the move from analog to digital, the digital flyer and the opportunity that presents when you don't have the walls of a printed format to present sell items to a shopper and to do that in a personally relevant way, that is a tremendous opportunity that's happening right now that is going to transform what's been kind of the backbone of the grocery. All the processes are built around building the weekly circular. Why not use AI to determine what goes into the digital circular to start with? You know, we have all the data, we have seasonal data, we have weather data, we have customer data, we have localized market data. We bring all that together, build the ad, and then present it in real time in a digitally relevant way to each shopper. I mean, that's another huge opportunity we're going to see continue to take off. And you know, it kind of infuses the back end processes of the grocer and what they do to get product on the shelf, which is an amazing process. You know, that has to be looked at now. That feeds in to creating these relevant digital experiences on the front end for the consumer. So, sorry I talked too much, but yeah, really, that gets me excited about all the opportunities that are out there, and we're just scratching the surface.
For sure. Yeah. I think that's a really good note for us to leave this conversation. I can tell your excitement, and I can tell this is actually a good opportunity maybe for us to do another one of these episodes.
Yeah, let's do it.
In the coming months as we, collect more questions and things that maybe our audience here listening to have, I want to ask you. So, Randy, thank you so much for your time. This is very helpful, and we'll catch everybody listening and watching at the next Top Shelf Spotlight. Have a great day, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Peter.